I love to talk to CFOs. I love to lead this conversation with CFOs. I want to lead this conversation with chief revenue officers, but what I find is that across organizations, it can be really varied of like what those revenue leaders are actually responsible for. But the buck stops with the CFO.
Jen, Paul, welcome to Good Morning Ecosystem. We have been looking forward to having both of you on the show. Today, we're going to talk about Service Hub and the green space it provides for our ecosystem and the partners and the builders on top of it. Paul is Senior Director of Product. He's the GM of Service Hub, and him and I talk a lot. You always give me your vision on Service Hub being designed for two reasons: scaling support and driving retention. And so we see a massive opportunity to help customers grow better in customer support and customer success, especially with HubSpot AI powering all of our hubs and this hub. It was so exciting to see Service Hub relaunch at the end of April in our spring product spotlight. And then our other guest here is Jen Spencer, CEO of SmartBug, an elite HubSpot solutions partner that went in all in early on Service Hub. So thank you for both joining.
Thank you.
Happy to be here.
Cool. I'll kick it off with kind of an easy one. Paul, give us the lay of the land. The spotlights were so cool. What is most exciting for you, and what are the new tools and features that's on your mind?
Yeah, I hope everyone has had a chance to check out the spotlight page. First of all, it looks awesome. The team that put it together just did a phenomenal job with the presentation layer. So kudos to them. But here's where I would start. I would start by saying we've been lucky to interview so many amazing CX leaders. And these are VPs or chief customer officers that oversee the post-sales experience. So think like reactive customer support, proactive account nurturing through customer success or service delivery. A lot of times they'll have a CX ops component in there as well. And two takeaways rose to the surface repeatedly in all of those interviews. It's that they both want to scale support efficiently, and obviously AI plays a big role there, but they also deeply want to drive retention. And this was kind of like an obvious statement, but a bit of a light bulb moment for us because the market is super fragmented and there's a lot of focus on point solutions. So I'm super excited about unifying the CX department, and that's support and success together in Service Hub with the new help desk workspace and the new customer success workspace, which is now in beta, as well as the AI chatbot, which syncs with Content Hub seamlessly. So things like KB articles, website pages, blog posts, public URLs, just like a whole lot of opportunity and potential there. And we're really excited about what it does for the entire CX department.
Yeah, I love that we're bringing customer success kind of into the fold. It crosses these silos of sales, marketing, and service. It's about the customer kind of across all those life cycles. So, Jen, it was a big moment for Service Hub. You know Service Hub so well. What are you most excited about?
I'm just excited about being able to really lean into what I know the inbound methodology is. I've been a HubSpot customer and like super fan for a number of years, I think since like 2013. And I've subscribed to this notion of being able to deliver value at every stage of a customer journey and what kind of impact that can have on a business. And I think it's like the right time. It's like, wow, we have the technology. We've had the methodology. Now we have the technology, the process, the strategy to actually really make this all work in one cohesive system. I love being able to kind of put a pin in like that methodology that we've been striving for so long.
Yeah. Just building on that, Jen, I know this about you and SmartBug. You went all in on Service Hub really early, like before lots of others. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Like, what did you see and like what drove that conviction for you?
Yeah. No, we definitely did. And I did. And I've been championing it here. I mean, I think our clients overall, when they're working with us, they're looking to tackle usually like 3 to 4 different core issues. of some kind. And two of those always tend to be boosting their operational efficiency and then enhancing customer retention, right? And of course, there's other things we're doing for growth and brand awareness. And what we've noticed, over the last couple of years during these conversations with our clients, their service teams who aren't the people we've been interacting with. Truly, we've been interacting more on the sales and marketing side. But what we're hearing from their revenue leadership counterparts in sales and marketing is that the service teams have fewer people on board compared to where they were like 3 to 5 years ago. They're still tasked with keeping customers happy, but now there's also more pressure on those team members to boost revenue. And the things that we started to notice that were really, really tricky for us being able to help them be successful is they didn't have help desk integrated with their CRM. So customer service processes weren't working well. They didn't have a good handle on their NPS or CSAT scores, just creating these unnecessary barriers and letting customer success, sales, and marketing all kind of communicate together, flow together. And then that leads to just misalignment between customer success, marketing, and sales. So if you it's if you take a step back from like the day to day of everything that we all do and jobs to be done, if customer success is going to help drive revenue growth, they have to have easy access to marketing and sales data. And we saw there were instances where our clients and prospects, like the marketer and the sales leader, didn't know who ran support, didn't know what challenges they were experiencing. There was just not a communication loop, a feedback loop of information, because they were working on these disparate systems. And if they really wanted to use customer success as a growth driver for them, they had to have unified data. And so when I heard, this is what HubSpot's working on with Service Hub, I had just been watching this need emerge, and it's like the perfect time for a solution.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I know. Can you tell us a little bit more about sort of how you came in contact with the support, Service Hub buyer? You mentioned talking to the marketing leader and the sales leaders and so on. Like the Service Hub is like a different motion. So can you tell us a little bit about that? Like how did you break into those communities and so forth?
Yeah. Well, it's case. So I would say it's definitely still a work in progress. But just in getting started, I think about what happens to marketers, especially, is if it's anything that involves any kind of automation, technology, content, messaging of any kind, it tends to fall on the head of a marketer. So we started to notice that we had marketing points of contact in our customer base and our client base that were being tasked with trying to do what we now recognize as being customer success at scale, and how they can be better leveraging those marketing platforms. And so we really start those conversations there. The other place we're having those conversations is through C-level executives, CROs, and CEOs and CFOs who would come to us with top line, they come to us thinking they need new logos, thinking they need a higher volume of leads, thinking, they need more deals. And as we start to really understand their business, we start asking, well, wait a minute, like, what are you doing to land and expand inside of organizations? Or how are you creating a flywheel effect with the customers you have and using them for referrals and creating evangelism? And these were things that our clients at that C level, they're like, yeah, we should be doing this, but they didn't really have that practice in place. So we've started just by talking to our customers who they definitely have a need and there's an appetite, there's a hunger, but maybe they don't have all of those people, those roles in place yet. And we're helping serve as that bridge.
That makes sense. Paul, you must hear that a lot. Does that resonate with what you hear from customers?
Absolutely. And that's one of the most exciting parts about this whole new product space for us is the organic attach motion for marketing and sales. So you think about,
Yeah.
what happens after a deal closes. In traditional help desk software, nothing until a customer issue occurs, right? So with the addition of the customer success workspace, we have this nice bridge from, deal closing into onboarding a customer and having them activate or get value out of your product or service. Meanwhile, underpinned by this great help desk software. So if a customer issue occurs, you're right there for them, all in that kind of unified platform. Then you can start to think about how that bridge reconnects back to sales and marketing use cases. So qualifying and growing leads from your customer base, or driving advocacy campaigns and promoters from your customer base. Just a hugely untapped opportunity in general. And in my opinion, what better platform to do it with than HubSpot's customer platform in the smart CRM underpinning it all. Every hub gets better because you've got that data centralized in that same database.
That's awesome. I want to read some stats and see if they sort of resonate with you. We've got some data here that suggests 62% of customer experience leaders are facing decreased budgets. 82% of teams are expected to take on more sales, more revenue
Yep.
goals. And at the same time, 70% are facing pressure from their leadership teams to adopt AI. It sounds like those really resonate. It sounds like, Jen, that's what you're hearing from your discovery conversations with customers. Are those the problems that you're hearing about the most?
Yeah, I mean, that definitely matches up with what we're noticing in the market. There are so many CX leaders, like, customer leaders of all kinds that are really trying to do more with less, dealing with smaller budgets, feeling the heat to increase revenue. I think everyone is, right? Across different revenue organizations. And if we think about like those customer success agents and the CSMs, they're not just juggling more customers or tickets. Like if you think about, well, there was a model for every number of customers I have, I'll now need X number of customer success managers or service representatives, and it doesn't that scale. It doesn't quite work the way as simply as it used to before, because the industry is evolving. And now those customer success leaders and the frontline managers and people who are engaging with your customers, they also now have to be experts in technology, AI. It's a big challenge, especially for people who are already feeling the squeeze. And so if I think about these stats that you're talking about, and I think about like how do we break it down into like very succinct, like the challenges that people have, it's data utilization. So it's like what Paul was saying is like people have to have a grip on their customer data so they can have proactive service and they can
Yeah.
implement personalized customer experiences. And that's where we're looking at like AI and smart analytics to kind of to help step in. The second's resource allocation, right? So there's no longer just this accepted model of, well, as you add this, you're just going to add, more headcount to your team. We're under a ton of pressure to make the most of every resource, and that's making this idea of like customer success at scale be so compelling, and even like pulling resources away from marketing teams. And then the last piece that is a real headache are integration issues. So everyone's got these disconnected systems, and data is not flowing smoothly, and it just makes their entire program a bit of a headache. So like those are the real life, like living in the moment issues that people are having that connect back to these stats that have an impact on a company's profitability and growth.
Makes sense. What is your Jen? What is your typical approach have been with Service Hub? Is it always an attach motion, or do you come in with Service Hub as like a leading motion?
To be honest, it's been an attach right now, right? There have been a few cases where people are interested in a service, a ticket solution on its own, and we've seen that. But typically, we've got a lot of data inside of the Marketing Hub, the CRM, the Smart CRM, Sales Hub, that our teams are using, and they're sitting on these opportunities. They're sitting on these opportunities to expand that data, to make it more useful, to drive like more efficiency and greater success with their customers. And it's in a language and it's in a format that they understand. And so that's really where things have been at the onset for us. I'm looking forward to a world where we're going to market directly with Service Hub, right? Like that's exciting. That's very, very exciting to me. And I think there are still so many, well, I don't, I think I know there are still so many businesses that don't even have, that are successful and are growing, but don't even have modern day sophisticated CRM platforms. And so I think we can solve a lot of problems for those customers in getting them set up with a really, really solid smart CRM paired with Service Hub to deliver customer success at scale for their customer base.
I love that perspective, by the way. Thinking about Service Hub as a really great attach and cross-sell motion. You think about the flywheel. You've got Marketing Hub, attract visitors, create leads. You've got Sales Hub, creating and closing deals. What happens next? You don't just skip ahead to resolving issues, although that's a big part of it, but it's really about retaining and growing customers and putting that customer at the front and center, and then bringing that flywheel back around with promoters. So I really like that model. It's great.
I think I would say the only other time when we're implementing service, the first thing, right? We're leading with Service Hub right now. Is it's when we see that someone has they bought another platform. Maybe they bought Zendesk. They've got a really basic implementation, and Service Hub just makes a lot of sense. And it's we consider it a more robust support solution that also allows us to introduce the other comprehensive capabilities that they get inside the HubSpot platform and access to the HubSpot ecosystem. And then the other one is we work with a lot of companies that are private equity owned or VC backed, where there's a lot of M&A activity, a lot of mergers, and we see customers on different support systems, and there's no common thread, right? And so what we have found, and when we're trying to take 3 or 4 companies that are coming together and move them into like one productive tech stack, HubSpot and Service Hub makes it really easy for us we can import the historical tickets, we can import the knowledge base articles, and we're able to get them up and running the quickest, taking 3, 4, 5 different like disparate service or ticketing types of systems and just getting them all into one.
I love it. Kind of unified customer platform there. Paul, you and your team invested so much in, Service Hub with a platform perspective. You've opened up a number of things like the calling SDK, the custom behavioral events, the ability to customize Service Hub. What was the thought behind that? Why was it so important to open up those platform capabilities?
Yeah. First, big shout out to all the app partners and integrators that are using all that functionality. We want our customers to get the most value from our products, point blank. And so where do we start? We start with an opinionated out-of-the-box experience that's super easy to use. And we're very focused on core path use cases. And that means that we don't want to and don't need to build every feature under the sun. That's where app partners come in. That's where, customers with development resources come in. That's where partners come in. We want to open up new areas for customization and extensibility in our products so that it can be extended. It can be built on top of. So you mentioned a bunch of them. Calling SDK is a favorite example. But another one I'd add to that mix is the new user API, actually, which is great for working hours, setting availability, user skills. And that's huge for workforce management, different types of use cases, which is really actually very important for customer support and Service Hub types of customers.
Yeah, I love that. We in the launch, so we had a number of integration partners. Which integration partners have you been the most excited about?
Excited about all of them. I will say, we handpicked that essential apps list, and I think that every single one of them have a ton of value. But I would like to, especially shout out the team at Arrows. I think has done a really great job. They took a big bet and went really hard on HubSpot and Service Hub specifically, and I think that we've traded feedback with each other, and I think that that's been a really tight, nice integration that really levels both platforms up. Aircall's been great. Zuper's been great for field service. Really excited about Pendo segment amplitude for product usage data. When you start to think about customer health scores, integrate that event data into those health scores. It's great for software companies. Also, like collaboration tools like the Slack and Teams integrations are pretty great. So, I mean, it's really hard for me to choose one or a couple.
You did a nice job, calling them all out. I agree. Just to echo Paul, like there was a very, there are a lot of great partners, and thank you for all of our partners who are just using these new APIs and then building kind of great deep integrations, and kind of pushing the boundaries of what you can do. I often show at like Partner Day or at Inbound or others, like how we think about our app strategy map. And like, this is such a great space to be building and extending in service. So it's exciting to see.
Yeah. This is super exciting. I'd love to dig into the details, Jen, with you for a second. At SmartBug, when you think about leading with Service Hub and adopting that platform and driving, how did operations change? Like, did you have to reskill the team? Like, how did training change? Like, it's something you've done really well. Yeah. Just curious to dig into how you brought that about.
Yeah, we really had to rethink our training and our staffing approach altogether. And I mean, this was something that I brought, to our board to say, okay, we have to focus energy here, right? Like this was a decision that needed our executive sponsorship at an organization of our size. And if I think back to when Service Hub first came out about 6 years ago or so, we only had a few team members who had any kind of support or CS background or really knowledge there. So as our focus shifted from solely boosting revenue with new logos to then using customer success platforms and strategies for growth, now we've got a crew of Service Hub experts who are assisting in the sales process, helping handle implementations, offering ongoing support. And that's also led to us needing to develop entirely new solutions for clients that are solving different challenges and cater to a different type of persona. So we went through and, we're believe in refreshing your personas on a regular basis, updating micro personas by industry. So that was a big exercise that was really important that we took a beat to do. And then what we do, it's important we just make sure our team is staying on top of all of the industry trends, how we can assist this unique audience, because now I've got 300 SmartBugs who didn't necessarily have CS leaders in their LinkedIn feeds, right? Where they weren't actually seeing that. They've had to kind of expand the view of what their market is, what their network is. But we've taken our trainings and we've made adjustments through our onboarding process. We've got a lot of internal training that we do, and a lot of info that we're sharing we use Slack and have dedicated channels and monthly roundups. And that's helped. And it's a constant state of iteration for us, both onboarding employees, but then also onboarding our clients. And we have had to make changes to the way we conduct discovery in the sales process, the kinds of questions that we're asking, the way that we are onboarding that new client, and getting and understanding the way that business makes money and the way it loses money. So it's not like a big redo, right? It's just it's an iteration, and it's a good exercise because we have to constantly be evolving because we live and work in an environment that's changing so frequently.
I love that. I love your approach to developing empathy, deep empathy for the Service Hub community and buyer and user. That's awesome.
And how they use scale enablement for that. It's not just, hey, we're going to go into the space and we just hope it's going to happen, but how do you think about the onboarding, the training, the enablement, the sharing of empathy? What are the, rhythms and culture and process to do that? So it's cool to hear.
Yeah.
It's something that we've had to really formalize as we've grown. So when we were a team of 28, 30 people, you could record something, send one video, get everyone into a room, a virtual room. SmartBug's always been remote. So get everyone into a virtual room together and walk through a training or walk through like a why kind of once. As we've grown and we're now significantly bigger and we've got new people coming on board, we've had to really operationalize it. And we've had to, I started my career as a teacher, and I know there are different ways that people consume information, the way that they learn. Some are auditory, some are visual, right? And we've had to make sure we're hitting on all of those pieces, and because there's a lot that's coming at our teams, and a lot that we're expecting from them. But the end of the day, the more as a partner, as an agency, as someone who's supporting a business in driving revenue, growing revenue, improving operations, the better your business acumen, the more you understand about the way the business works and what makes the business successful and what potentially could harm the business, the better off you're going to be as a strategist, as a provider, as a partner in helping support that customer.
Yeah. I love that vision of like helping customers grow better, like holistically. You have to understand their whole business. Yeah. Makes sense.
Paul, we talked a little bit about this, but the customer success and how that bridges into the other ones. Like as a product leader, what were the signals that gave you the conviction that this was the right time to do a customer success workspace?
That's a good question. So I would just start with those interviews that we did. We were, like I said, we were very lucky to be able to interview some really amazing CX leaders with different kind of titles, different remits, different industries, and it just became amazingly apparent to us that retention was the metric that they were gold on and that they cared about so deeply, even though they had a customer support team and a service delivery team. What the ultimate metric was customer retention or net dollar retention.
Yep.
And so that was the first signal. Then we went out and did some market research, and we were seeing all these signals that both support and success teams were being asked to do more sales-like activities. And you start to think about, how can we take advantage of the HubSpot customer platform more, and build that bridge again from Service Hub to Sales Hub and Marketing Hub. And it just became like so blatantly clear that this is the right path to build those bridges from sales to customer success, to customer support, back into growing leads within your customer base. So all of that kind of together. And then once we started to bring this up with prospects and with partners, like it was just so well received. And it was like, it's so obvious. They should be together. They should be in the same platform. It really felt like we had that light bulb moment. And so we just immediately went to work. And now the fun part begins. And we're trying to figure out how we can, tie these experiences together even closer and build these in-product experiences across different disciplines. So that's the fun part now.
I have a question, and this might be a dumb question. We can edit it out if we have to. But we've talked about a lot of different titles, right? There are a lot of different titles, CX leaders that touch the customer experience, support, and so forth. We've talked about marketing and sales and CS. What is the typical Service Hub motion like? Who specifically are you talking to when we're having a Service Hub sales discussion?
I'll start real quick, and Jen, I'd love to hear your opinion here. Okay, so in our conversations, different companies call this department different things, and this is kind of like a unique aspect of this hub, the thing that we're working on, which is a little bit different from sales and marketing. Marketing has a marketing department. Sales has a sales department. Those are well-known things, but every company has post-sales. Every company has customers. They just call them different things. Here at HubSpot, we have a customer success department. That's the name of the department. But underneath that, and the leader of that department is an SVP of customer success. It's John Dick. And he oversees reactive customer support, the service delivery, wing and the traditional customer success that we've been talking about, which is account management. And so we started to see these signals over and over again that this department looks the same pretty much everywhere. They just might call it different things.
Yeah.
So, for example, I met with a leader who was actually VP of sales and customer success pretty recently at a software company. And I've met with folks who are VPs of CX. Yep. Is their title. And so it just really varies what they're called, but underlying, once you interview them and see what their jobs are, what their responsibilities are, what metrics they care about, it's often retention, that customer experience underneath it.
I think I'm going to add who I love to sell this to, like the people I love to talk to. Yeah. I love to talk to CFOs. I love to lead this conversation with CFOs. I want to lead this conversation with chief revenue officers, but what I find is that across organizations, it can be really varied of like what those revenue leaders are actually responsible for, but the buck stops with the CFO. The CFO is looking at what's coming in and what's kind of fallen out, and they've got the best macro seat in the house for this, and there's not like an emotional attachment or anything to any one system or process or group of people. They're just looking at those numbers, and when we can show how we can make that team more efficient and how we can improve outcomes for them, that resonates really, really well with that finance officer persona.
That's amazing.
That is so insightful. Yeah. I already hear Kate. She does care about this.
We love CFOs. Shout out to Kate Bucher. 100%, Jen.
Jen, how do you, one observation I've seen with larger, more mature support teams is that they've often got some other help desk tool in the mix of their HubSpot implementation. And as those companies are evaluating Service Hub for help desk tools, I'm curious for your vantage point of like importing that data, migrating those processes and data. Do you have a perspective on how to like help those companies reacclimate to new software, specifically Service Hub?
Yeah. If you visit zendeskmigration.com, literally, you'll see. I mean, we see that being the biggest opportunity, and so we're looking at other platforms like Zendesk and seeing that people are not getting the use out of it. They're not making the most out of that investment. And we at SmartBug have developed a process. We've developed a solution for very seamlessly, truly like ripping and replacing that technology and getting those customers up and running quickly. So it's a mixture of both strategy and the technology, right? It's not for the upmarket, those complex customers we're working with. This isn't a push a button thing and it just automatically like moves from point A to point B. We're usually taking the time, right, to go, wait a minute, before we move houses, like, what do we want to bring with us? What do we want to get rid of? Like, what have we learned? And let's kind of kick this up a notch. And we're now on the V2 or V3 or V4, whatever it is, of their customer success solution. So it's been great just to kind of take a beat and understand how different tools have been working or not working for those customers and what else is missing, and then using that insight and that strategy to implement their future tool.
Jen and Paul, such great insights on the Service Hub opportunity for customers and for our ecosystem. Thank you both so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks. Good to be here. Good to see you.
Listeners, we'll be back for more Good Morning Ecosystem next Tuesday, wherever you get your podcasts. Until then, grow better.